Dr. Sarah Chen is 45 minutes into a mitral valve repair. The patient is stable. The music in her head, she always hums Beethoven's Seventh, is right on tempo. Her resident is sweating. She is not. Then the lights go out. Not the brownout kind. Not the generator kicks in within 3 seconds kind. Every monitor, every overhead lamp, every powered retractor. Gone. The ventilator beside her stops mid-breath, not winding down, not sputtering. It just stops. The way a sentence stops when the speaker dies. The backup generator does not kick in. It will never kick in again. 3,000 miles away, the 17-year-old in a Cincinnati basement is one headshot from the highest kill streak of his entire life. His screen goes black. His headset goes silent. Somewhere across that same lobby, 7 other teenagers experience the exact same tragedy simultaneously, which is, objectively, the most equitable thing electricity ever did on its way out the door. At this precise moment, let's call it 2:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on an otherwise unremarkable Tuesday, the physical possibility of electrical current flowing through a conductor has ceased to exist on planet Earth. Not a power outage, not an EMP, not a cyber attack. The electrons simply declined to move. This is what happens next. The first thing most people notice is the silence, not darkness. It's 2:47 p.m. in summer. It's the silence. The ambient hum of modern civilization is something you never consciously hear until it stops. HVAC systems, refrigerator compressors, traffic signals cycling, server farms breathing their hot machine breath, the collective electrical heartbeat of 8 billion people and their 30 billion connected devices. Gone. What replaces it is something our great-great-grandparents would have recognized immediately. Wind. Birds. The creak of a building settling. The sound of the actual physical world. The annoying TikTok trends have, at long last, stopped. So has the dialysis machine keeping Gary Hoffman alive in a Phoenix outpatient clinic. So have the traffic management systems at 127 major intersections, currently occupied by cars, traveling at 65 miles per hour. So has every commercial aircraft on autopilot. And while modern planes can glide and do have manual overrides, the 11,000 commercial flights currently airborne are about to test exactly how good their pilots are at flying aircraft that were never, ever designed to be entirely analog. The physics of what just happened is almost insultingly simple. Electrons, which carry charge through conductors by drifting through a sea of their neighbors, have stopped drifting. The electromagnetic force that enables this, that fundamental universe-baked interaction, has been surgically removed from one specific application. Current cannot flow. Voltage cannot drive anything. The laws of physics have developed one very specific exception, and it is catastrophic. Your body, notably, still works. Your neurons fire through electrochemical gradients, a different mechanism slightly. Biology got a pass. The universe, apparently, has opinions about scale. Here is where most people's mental model breaks down. Generators, you're thinking. Solar panels. Batteries. Generators generate electricity by moving conductors through magnetic fields, which induces current. Except current can no longer be induced. The generator spins. Nothing happens. It is now an extraordinarily expensive fan. Solar panels convert photons to current through the photovoltaic effect, a quantum phenomenon that also requires electron flow. Blank. Batteries store chemical energy and release it as electrical current. The chemical energy is still there. The current release mechanism has been terminated. Every single backup system humanity engineered over 150 years of electrical paranoia is, in this moment, a monument to misplaced confidence. Within the first hour, approximately 4.3 million people who require powered medical equipment, ventilators, pacemakers, insulin pumps, left ventricular assist devices, are in immediate mortal danger. The global aviation system is in controlled chaos. Every hospital, every water treatment plant, every data center goes dark. The internet, that luminous record of human knowledge and cat videos and extremely specific Reddit communities, does not gradually degrade. It doesn't slow down and show you a sad dinosaur. It ends. Trillions of dollars of accumulated digital civilization, photos, medical records, financial systems, literature, the complete archives of humanity's online arguments about pineapple on pizza is inaccessible, probably forever, because the hardware it lived on requires electricity to read, which means your passwords are the least of your problems. But still, somewhere in the chaos, someone is relieved. Dawn breaks over New York City 24 hours later. The skyline is physically intact. No explosions yet, no fires. But something is deeply, wrongly quiet. No lights in any window. The bridges are there, but dark. Steam no longer rises from the subway grates. And for the first time in over a century, the Hudson River is audible from Midtown. The triangle of doom that emergency planners have nightmares about is water, food, and sanitation. And they collapse in almost exactly that order. Municipal water systems run on electric pumps. Those pumps are not pumping. In a city of 8 million, the water towers that provide passive pressure, there are about 15,000 of them perched on rooftops. Buy you maybe 24 to 48 hours of low-pressure water before they drain. After that, the taps run dry. No water pressure means no toilet flushing at scale. 8 million people. Do the math. The city that never sleeps is about to smell like it never bathed either. Food in the modern supply chain requires refrigeration, which requires electricity, which requires electrons, which have quit. Every grocery store, every restaurant walk-in cooler, every distribution warehouse loses its cold chain simultaneously. In summer temperatures, perishables, meat, dairy, produce begin their bacterial careers in earnest within hours. Canned goods exist. So do approximately 340 million Americans and their collective 4-day average of emergency food supplies. The word rationing will be used by the end of the first week. Pause here. Genuinely, pause and think about this. If you could keep one piece of now useless technology as a relic, not because it works, but because of what it meant, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. A vinyl record player, a Polaroid camera, your grandmother's electric piano, the particular laptop you were using when you wrote something you were actually proud of. Because what we're talking about isn't just infrastructure. It's the archaeology of a civilization that is right now in our timeline, ending. What's your artifact? Now. 1 month in, and this is the part that keeps nuclear engineers awake at night even in the normal timeline. Nuclear reactors don't explode like bombs when they lose power. That's a common misconception that we can now set aside in favor of a more accurate and somehow worse reality. What happens is a process called decay heat. Even after you shut down the fission reaction, the radioactive decay of fission products continues producing heat, about 7% of operational power, immediately after shutdown, declining slowly over days and weeks. You need cooling water, circulating continuously. Circulating water requires pumps. Pumps require electricity. The world has approximately 440 operational nuclear reactors. Without any cooling, passive or active, the fuel rods heat beyond containment capacity within hours to days, depending on design. Chernobyl was caused by a flawed reactor design and human error. Fukushima needed a tsunami to disable backup cooling. We have just handed every nuclear plant on Earth a condition worse than Fukushima's worst moment, simultaneously, globally, with no emergency response capability anywhere. Some plants have passive cooling designs that buy days without power. Some don't. All of them eventually exhaust their options. The chemical sector is equally cheerful. Industrial chemical facilities require continuous process control, temperatures, pressures, mixing ratios maintained in precise balance. Without that balance, you get exothermic runaway reactions, you get pressure vessel failures, you get the release of chlorine, ammonia, phosgene, hydrogen sulfide into communities that no longer have emergency services capable of responding. By month 1, the map of Earth has acquired a new geography, a constellation of dead zones, each roughly centered on what used to be a source of power or chemical production, surrounded by expanding rings of consequence. The good news, and this is a very dark shade of good, is that with no electricity, there's also no electronic detonation, no powered weapons systems, no guided munitions. The great powers of Earth are, militarily, back to the 19th century overnight. War is still possible, it just got a lot more local. 1 year later. The population curve has done something terrible, and from a purely ecological standpoint, corrective. Cities, which exist entirely on the premise that food can be moved efficiently from where it grows to where people are, have mostly emptied. Not vanished, emptied. Humans are adaptable. The survivors have migrated toward water and arable land, which is to say, they have become farmers in the specific, backbreaking, weather-dependent way that the word meant before we softened it with John Deere tractors and GPS-guided irrigation. The infrastructure of the old world remains standing, mostly. Steel and concrete don't require electricity to stay upright. The skyscrapers of Manhattan are still there. Windows dark, lobbies filling with pigeons, ground floors being explored by deer who have been eyeing Midtown with interest for decades and finally have the run of it. The great irony of Instagram-worthy architecture is that it's most beautiful when it's wild. The coffee shops of Williamsburg, with their exposed brick and carefully cultivated decay aesthetic, have achieved a level of authentic decay that no interior designer could have planned. Vines through the Edison bulb fixtures, moss on the reclaimed wood, a red fox napping on the custom-poured concrete bar top. 5 stars. Ambiance unmatched. The new social structures are unsurprising to anyone who has read history, and depressing to anyone who hoped we'd evolved past them. Proximity, kinship, and the specific skills of keeping things growing and people alive have replaced the old currencies of followers, credentials, and quarterly earnings. The people doing best, 1 year in, are the ones who knew how to make things with their hands. Blacksmiths, surgeons who can work by candlelight, like Dr. Sarah Chen, who made it out of that OR, who saved her patient's life using techniques her profession hadn't relied on in 80 years, and who is now teaching everything she knows to anyone who will learn. Knowledge didn't disappear with the servers. Books survived. Libraries, stone buildings full of paper, which require no power to read, are the most valuable real estate on Earth. The Milky Way blazes over London every single night. Nobody who sees it says it wasn't worth it. Some of them mean it. The electrons didn't quit because they were angry. They didn't quit because we deserved it or didn't deserve it. In our hypothetical, they quit because we constructed an entire civilization on a single physical phenomenon and called it permanent. Every infrastructure engineer who ever wrote a risk assessment document that included the phrase, "assume continuous power availability," just became a prophet. The world that follows isn't better or worse. It's different in ways that would take a generation to fully map. People still fall in love, still argue about things that don't matter, still look at the sky and feel small and strange and inexplicably grateful to be here. They just do it by firelight now. If you want the companion piece, what happens if only the internet dies and civilization has to reckon with its data addiction while the lights are still on? That one drops next week. Comment your relic below. I genuinely want to know.